Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. I am your guest host, Dr. Monikah Ogando, standing in for Kim Otay, the Otays. Today, we're delving into a little bit of their favorite topic and my favorite topic, which is where money and mindset collide. So we're going to be talking about the money blocks that we get to uncover and dissolve so that we can really build the life and the legacy that we want to be proud of. And so I have a quote for you. And the quote is, Sorrel's gonna laugh at me. It is really easy to feel a little more spiritual with a couple of bucks in your pocket, by Craig Ferguson. And so I want to talk about
I love that.
the 4 unconscious money blocks and how to dissolve them. And again, welcome to the Daily Huddle.
Boom, 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 boom. 3, 2, 1.
Are you being our drums?
Thank you, Cheryl. It's not sharing, Cheryl. Don't worry, it's not. Okay, it worked.
Okay, all right. Something.
That would do it. That would do it.
Yes. It's percussion in my head. It's always happening anyways. So once again, welcome to the Daily Huddle. Let's get grounded. Andrea, so good to see you. I always have a big grin in my face whenever you pop in. So tell us, everybody, where are you and who are you hugging today?
Dr. Monikah, I am where I need to be, which is right here. And you know it. First of all, I'm going to hug myself.
Yes.
And then my daughter.
Oh, daughter hugs abound. That's awesome. Michelle, how are you? And what time is it? No, you know what I want to ask, how are you and what are you thankful for? That's what I want to ask.
I am fantabulous because I am the way I say I am.
Yes, yes.
And I am thankful for another beautiful day.
I love that. I love that. My day is still dark o'clock in Phoenix, Arizona. So I'll let you know how it goes. I'll report back on Thursday when it's my turn. I'm back home. Today, we're talking about the 4 unconscious money blocks. And when I tell them, when I give them words, when I articulate them, you're gonna be like, that's not so unconscious, Monikah. I don't know, that's a duh to me. So we're gonna talk about it, okay? Because what happens is with our unconscious behavior is that when we don't know that it's an inherited block, a cultural block, based on 0 to 7 childhood trauma or whatever the case may be, we call it our personality. This is just the way that I was raised. This is just the way that I am. This is just the way that things are, et cetera, et cetera. And as you may know, if you've been to Thursday's Daily Huddles, one of my favorite quotes is by Carl Jung that says, if you do not make the unconscious conscious, it'll drive your destiny and you'll call it, it'll drive your behavior and you'll call it fate. Right? And so we want to make the unconscious conscious so that we know what to interrupt, what to amplify, and what to stand up. And that's what we're doing today with the money blocks. So the first one, they all are around who you believe that you are. Now, there's a very big difference between who you are and who you believe that you are. There's a big difference. If you believe in a divine creator, then you've already been created and you already are who you are. That's not up to you. That's not litigible. But who you say you are, who you believe you are, who you act like you are, that is a function of your self-definition. And sometimes our self-definition is influenced by unconscious behavior, trauma, etc. And so the first unconscious money block that has to do with your self-identity is, I don't deserve it. It comes from the place, I am not enough. And that typically happens, it gets fomented in our childhood when you get rewarded for being low maintenance. When you get rewarded for managing mom and dad's emotional thermostat because they have so much to deal with, so you're gonna be the kid with the least requirements. You're gonna be the well-behaved one. You're gonna be the one that handles their chores and their homework so you don't have to hear their mouth, so you don't get punished, so you don't have to cause more ruckus in the house, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you were younger, you got rewarded almost by being invisible, almost by not having needs. And so here you are, a big grown adult, and you think that the best way to be a good person is to not need anything. And sometimes you abandon yourself in the process. That's the first big unconscious money block. The second unconscious money block is a corollary of I am not enough. It is I don't know enough, right? And so sometimes we look at money as like, okay, that's math. That looks like a foreign language. I don't understand it. What are the little figures? Why are we talking pi and ratios? And this reminds me of math class. Make it stop, right? And the assumption for that block is that you don't know enough, or that this is too hoity-toity for you. This is, there's too much to learn and you ain't got it like that. But I have news for you. You were incarnated into this life not knowing anything that you know right now. You not knowing is your default position. And you move from there. So not knowing is not a reason to stop. It's how we begin. Huh. Go figure. Right? So the second unconscious money block is I don't know enough. The third unconscious money block is a corollary of I don't know enough. It's I know, and either I don't do it, or when I do it, I get it wrong. Right? So it's like you missed the opportunity to invest, or you went in too late in the housing market, or too early into the stock market and you got swiped, or you missed certain signs. It's like I try, I want to be money literate, I want to be wealthy, I want to do it, but then when I do it, I jack it up. I do the wrong thing, or I do it in the wrong time, or whatever the case may be. And so then you're like, I don't want to play. And this is a function of literacy. This is a function of practice and consistency. And this culture has done an amazing job of redirecting our attention to one-hit wonders and overnight successes and things like that. And I remember somebody said a long time ago, I don't know who to attribute this quote to, but somebody said a long time ago, it takes years to become an overnight success. And so we kind of fell for the okie doke, thinking that it's like, oh, you're supposed to just like hit it once and then boom, magic. No, it takes consistency and persistency, practice, getting it wrong, doing it again, iterating, etc. And then the fourth money block that I want to talk about, the unconscious one, is the spiritual one, the superior one, the morally superior one, right? The late stage anti-capitalist. I don't want to play. I'm going to live off grid and just don't bother me with all this crappy money stuff. Which really is a cloak for one of the previous three, but we're just going to dress it up with spiritual or social morality or superiority. And so I am so curious. I am very, very curious. Out of those four, which one do you relate to the most? Do you relate to I am not enough? Does that sound more familiar and more like, oh, that's the one. That's the one out of which all the other ones flow. I am not enough, or I don't know enough, or I get it wrong, or I don't want to play. Those are those 4 unconscious money blocks. And sometimes they come in different ways, or perhaps in relationships, for example, you may be, I am not enough. And then in money, you may be, I don't want to play. Laura says 1, 2, and 3. She's like, almost all of the above. So how do we dissolve? Michelle says, I'm with Laura. How do we dissolve these money blocks? Well, wouldn't it be nice if we lived in the 1980s sitcom era and all problems were resolved in 30 minutes? But I'm gonna give you some stuff to get you started. First is, I want you to observe your inner dialogue. I want you to run 2 tracks in your own thinking. The one that's actually thinking and doing and saying the things, and the one that's observing you saying and thinking and doing the thing. There's an observer always present in your life who opines not, who guilt trips not, who judges not. It's just like, oh, there it is. That's what she said, that's what she did. Or that's the opportunity she missed, or that's what she turned away from, or whatever. But it's just kind of like a description, a narration. Imagine having your own internal Morgan Freeman narrating your life as you live it, right? And so I want you to start practicing that, because many times we tell the story from the place of our wounding instead of the place of our observation. And what do I mean by that? That you will say something like, ah, man, I jacked that up. That's your wounding talking. The observation is just, the opportunity came and she said no. That's all that happened. Or, you know, somebody said something, she got triggered and she responded in an angry way. That's all that happened. It's your wounding that says, I messed it up, I'm a bad person, or I don't know how to do this, and blah, 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 blah. You impute judgment into the things that you say or do, or don't do and don't say. So that's the first one. Start observing yourself and just being in that neutral place. The second thing that I would say, and these are all kind of like in the form of questions, is what am I being right about? What am I being right about? Sometimes when I stand in the I am not enough, I'm letting my mom be right about me, or my dad be right about me. And when I let them be right, it's a show of loyalty, it's a show of love, it's a show of respect, it's a show of deference to the paternal or the authority figure in my life, and therefore a good person. Because look at me, I'm being a good girl, I'm being a good boy, or I'm, you know, being obedient, I'm being a good mom, I mean, a good daughter, a good son, or whatever, by letting my mom or my dad be right. Even when they're not, even when it's outdated data, even when it's inaccurate. And we're like, ooh, but you know, that's mom, so we gotta respect, right? We conflate the two. So what am I being right about? Or what am I doing? Who am I saying is right? Okay. And then finally, the third piece that I will give you, the third piece, confess your price and your payoff. What do I mean by that? Confessing your price and your payoff means I'm getting something out of this. Maybe my payoff is by pretending to not know enough or to know it and get it wrong. I get a savior. I get somebody to help me. I can abscond myself of responsibilities. I don't have to learn this stuff. I don't have to be embarrassed by not knowing. I don't have to, be seen as greedy because I'm so focused on learning about money or whatever the case may be. That may be my payoff. The price I pay is I don't get to make much money. I don't get to build my legacy because I'm not directly involved with it. But you've got to say it. This is why I say confess it, because it's not so much about the observational skill that I talked about in the first one. It's like you got to get in there, dig deep. You got to embarrass yourself to yourself. This doesn't have to be a public announcement, but you've got to at least be honest with yourself. You've got to be able to get in there and be like, oh, Lord, that's what I'm doing. Jesus. I told on myself. I want you to feel told on with this question. What's your price and what's your payoff? Because when you feel observed and told on, you've come to a decision inflection point. Do I keep doing this? Or do I interrupt myself and do something else? Right? Your conscience won't let you do it unconsciously anymore. It's like, okay, see now it's a choice. You've been talking like mama did this and daddy did that, but now we've talked about it. Now we've discovered it. Now we've articulated the price and the payoff. Now it's a choice. You can't keep doing this and pretend you're ignorant. And this is what I mean about making the unconscious conscious. Choice only comes at the point of consciousness. We don't have choices when we're not conscious of the things that we're doing. Right? So I just want to, if I had sleeves, I would roll them up so we can talk about this, because I want to hear from you. What is coming up for you? What's resonating? What do you feel told on? What do you, maybe you have a confession. You're like, I'm not going to say it right here in the Daily Huddle because, you know, the statute of limitations hasn't expired on that crime, but I will put it in my journal. Let's talk about it. What is resonating with you about this? Or what questions do you have about what we're talking about?
Can I jump in?
Of course.
Oh, sorry. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to find a quiet place. I'm at the gym because I couldn't miss this morning. So I'm going to tell on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I work hard and I save. That's what I learned as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Work hard, get a pension, save your money.
Right.
And then I lack motivation around it. I take it for granted. Like, you know, I don't know what the hell to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it just stays there. I'm complete.
That's a good one. Because that's a version of being a good person, right? Being a hard worker. Keep your nose to the grindstone and just get it done, right? And if wealth were built by hard work, teachers would be at a different place in this society, right? Mothers would be in a different place in this society. That's a great illumination point. Thank you, Laura.
Yes,
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm not going to even tell on myself. I'm just going to tell the truth.
Okay, all right.
One of the things that I have learned, little girl, is that, and my mom taught me, I never see my mom wake up in the morning and say she's going to work. So that's what the first teaching I got, little girl. Anyway, when I say to myself, when I grow up, I want to be just like my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Just like my mom. I don't want to work for anyone. I don't want anybody to tell me, oh, you're late. Tomorrow you cannot come late because we will be fire. I never got into that concept or into that rat race, thank goodness, and still yet working for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I choose to do, like 10, I would say is into 15, 12 years ago, I started to work into my little brains. I like to say that in my little picking brains, I started work that I want to live off the grid.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in New York City, in Brooklyn, and I said, no, I need to get out of this rat race. I cannot stay here. My sanity and my spirituality would not grow if I stay in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So anyway, 10 years ago, I moved out to the Poconos, and I said, I want to live off the grid. I am there, but not quite. But I would say that I started to work with an agency as a nurse's assistant.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to say, no, I don't want to go to a place named work. I worked there for maybe 8 years on and off. I used to just go and call. And I quit 4 years ago to a place named work. So right now I'm living off the grid, and I am conscious that saving is not my forte. Still have saving, real estate. That's what I was taught in my young childhood, that real estate is the way to go. So I have saving, but I don't have saving tangible. I have it in assets. So yes, I really confess that I am not a person that would save, but I have tangible real estate. And that's what, for me, what I was taught younger is real estate is the way to go. Thank you
Mhm.
so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Very, very powerful. Laura also asks, am I right about what I learned as a child that money is hard to come by? Well, that's a belief worth exploring, right? Because one of the things that I have found very useful in allowing me to let go of certain beliefs is whether they're is it true just for my family? Is it true just for mom or just for dad or just for my culture or just for my generation? Like, is it true for everybody? Is it universally, capital U, capital T, true? Right? So then it's like, well, barring any kind of physical disformity, everybody has two eyes. That is true. That is not a belief. That is true. All right. But is money hard to come by? No, that is not true for everybody. Some people, it's very easy. Some people make money despite themselves. You know, some people are like, they're born into a rich family and they squander it and they still end up with millions. It's not hard for them at all. Now, granted, they were born with a leg up, right? So that helps. But also, I know plenty of people who were born in very dire straits and ended up being on the other side of the spectrum, right? Billionaires and so forth. So when I am confronted with something like this, is this true? It's like, well, if it's not universally true, no. It's a position, it's an opinion, it's a belief. And the nature of beliefs is that I can choose another one. Who else has something? Who else has something to share with us? I see my fears come up around more. Oh, this is a good one. This is a good one. And this is probably like, this is probably one of the reasons for the I don't want to play one. The I don't want to play money block. Sometimes we don't want to play money because we think money is corrupt. And I want to be a good person. And if money's corrupt, then I'd rather be a broke person because that makes me closer to being good and pious than being rich, right? Another belief might be that more money, more problems. Thank you, Biggie. You know, I'm always going to come with the hip hop references. So, you know, it's particularly in Latin America and in the Caribbean, people who you can tell have a lot of money are susceptible to being mugged, kidnapped, houses broken into. So it's like when you, that's not unique to Latin America and Caribbean, okay? But in my country, this is one of the things that we heard about all the time. So-and-so's family got asked for a ransom, and that's because they know they have money. And so one of the beliefs that I learned growing up was it's better to have money than to show money. So we would never wear like brand name stuff, a lot of jewelry, drive the latest cars. We wouldn't show money in that way. We would rather have it sitting somewhere in a, you know, investment account or whatever, where somebody can teach it, or I wouldn't brag about it, et cetera, et cetera. So that is the belief, not just that money is corrupt, but maybe that money is dangerous. You can get killed about it. You can get kidnapped about it, right? And so I don't want to play because I want to stay away from corruption and danger. That's another one. Lawrence, you got something?
Yes. I recently became it was just like downloaded to me that we were born rich, like each one of us, like royalty, like the Queen of England, her children inherited everything. Well, it was downloaded to me that each one of us came into this world with that, you know, being rich.
Yeah.
However, each one of us has to come to that understanding that, you know, that we are rich, that the earth belongs to us, like everything in it belongs to us. Well, recently I realized that even though I came into that realization that I have blocks, and one of them is, am I worth it? Am I worth it? And so I've started working with that, because I realized that no matter that I got that, I am still, there is something blocking. And yes, someone showed me that my idea of, am I worth it?
Mhm.
And so I just want to offer that,
Mhm.
and I'm working with that.
Yeah, good stuff. Thank you for sharing that one. That one's a big one too. It's that whole enoughness conversation. I don't deserve it. I'm not enough. Am I worth it? Good stuff. Laura, when you say I see my fears come up around more money, what are some of those fears, if you don't mind sharing? Put that in the chat. Maybe we can massage some of them.
Okay. Fear of losing it. Let me give you a quick background. I grew up with caretakers who were wealthy at that time. And what I grew up seeing is the fear of, they lived in a state of fear of being robbed. So at nights, my godfather would not sleep.
Mhm.
Well, he experienced PTSD coming from Cuba during the revolution. So as you said before, people who hadn't showed money back then lived in that fear. So that is, I grew up in that fear of losing everything, losing things, plus some trauma that I experienced. So it's like, I'm afraid that I might lose whatever I have.
Mhm. Mhm.
It just triggers some anxiety for me around money.
Mhm.
With that, I'm complete. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. It's great to be able to notice these things, because then what it allows you to do is to interrupt it, right? To delve more deeply, like, where did this come from? And you can do some healing, particularly some inner child healing around some of these things. Because one of the best things for me to remember when I'm doing some of this inner child work, healing with either myself or with my clients, is that the place it came from is usually a good one. Mom and dad didn't plant these seeds in you because they wanted to jack up your life. Mom and dad planted these seeds in you because this is what they knew, and they wanted you to survive. It was an act of love to limit you then, right? It's kind of like the meatloaf story, right? It's like the little girl asks mama why she cuts off both ends of the meatloaf. She's like, I don't know, ask your grandmother. And then she asked grandma, why do you cut off I don't know, ask your great grandmama, ask Nana. And great grandma's like, what? And she's like, why did you cut off? Well, the parent was too short. So she had a good reason, but you're just doing it because you saw somebody else doing it, right? And so when we can delve deeply into these beliefs and the way that we have it, then you can make a choice whether to continue doing it or not. For you, it may not make sense to cut off the two ends of the meatloaf. You don't need to do it like that anymore. Your pan is big enough, right? And so, so hopefully you'll be able to take some of that stuff and immediately implement it. Immediately, start today. When you pay for your lunch or somebody else pays for you, just notice if you get icky, like, ooh, somebody's doing something for me, that means I'm gonna owe them later. Just notice that you have it transactional. You have it like, if lunch is free, then it's gonna cost you. Those are some unconscious beliefs that we sometimes move and we don't allow ourselves to give or to receive because we think the price may be too high.
Thank you for that. But one quick thing is that I'm not icky on spending money on food. And I think that's like a survival thing. Where I might be icky on spending money on might be other stuff, big
Right.
items.
That's a
Yeah,
great
thank you.
distinction. Good distinction there. Absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes that is how we get away with being extra. Like, oh, we'll just buy more food or better quality food, and that's how we splurge, right? But Lord have mercy, I'm just gonna get a Flintstone card, So great point. That's a great distinction. I want you all to start today, to start observing that, to note for yourself, to describe it for yourself, to give it words, because a lot of times, I remember one of my old mentors, Fernando Flores, used to say, language is the house of being. And we don't know something exists until we articulate it. And so when you start giving it language, you'll be able to live with it, move with it, interrupt it, change it, iterate it, etc. And of course, as always here in the Daily Huddle, love generously, laugh loudly, give of yourself, your energy, your time, your attention, eat more plant-based foods, sleep at least 7 hours. You know, well, not if you're in Phoenix and you have a Daily Huddle at 6 o'clock, but that's another talk for another song. And of course, move your tail feather. Remember that twerking is a Kundalini raising exercise. Stress less, and of course, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Always audit your assumptions. We love you. See you next time.
Love you all. Have a great day.
Love you all. Thank you, doctor.
Awesome.
Bye,
Lord.
doctor.
Hello, guys.
Thank
One
you
love.
so
Have an amazing
much.
day.
You're
One love.
awesome.